Hello and welcome to another episode of the Daily Chat Podcast, where we talk about all things awesome and nerdy. Guys, just going to make this one a quick podcast because I don't have a guest on today. This one's also going to be a little bit shorter. Basically, spoilers ahead, but I'm not going to give too many away. But this is a review of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and I'm going to start off by saying it is a good movie. I enjoyed it. However, if you're one of those people that didn't like The Force Awakens because you thought it was too similar to A New Hope, which it was, I'll admit to that, you might take some problems with this movie because it is kind of similar, at least in terms of plot points, to Empire Strikes Back. But I didn't have a problem with The Force Awakens, so I don't have a problem with this movie. Plus, they go in different directions with some of their plot points. Like in Empire, the big plot point was it was all Darth Vader trying to convince Luke Skywalker to join the dark side to take down the Emperor. This one, it's more about Rey and Luke trying to get Kylo Ren back over to the light side, and Kylo Ren trying to convince Rey to join him. And it all culminates in this really awesome lightsaber battle with them. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm trying not to give too much away, but because this is a good movie and it is worth seeing. But basically, like, there's one whole scene where they fight, like, a group of dudes with, I don't know what, like, lightsaber whips and things like that. It's probably one of the best lightsaber fight scenes I've seen on the big screen in a very, very long time. Maybe even, I'm going to go as far as to say since the Darth Maul scene in The Phantom Menace, which, by the way, is one of the few things that prequel trilogy did right. The big theme, though, about this one, though, is burying the past, which I think is what this movie was trying to say in regards to just everything else in terms of the fandom, I guess, in some weird way, as in, like, they're not saying it's bad to remember it, but at the same time, it's like you can't keep letting the bad things bother you. You know, things need to change, things need to move on. Which I always thought was really cool, and it comes together in a really cool way with a cameo of one of everyone's favorite little green puppets that's not Kermit the Frog, who is also voiced by Frank Oz, or I don't think Kermit's voiced by Frank Oz, but you know who I'm talking about. Like I said, there were spoilers in this one, but the biggest difference, though, between this movie and Empire Strikes Back is simply the fact that after the Rebels get off Hoth and Empire, you don't really see what happens to the fleet. This one, it is all about the fleet. You're seeing the Resistance fleet on the run throughout the whole movie as they're just being bombarded and shellacked and shelled by the First Order. And you really do get to see like see how desperate they really are, which is something they kind of didn't really do too much in the other Star Wars movies, except for maybe Rogue One. You see a lot of it in Rebels, the TV show, which is sick, but like I'm saying, the big thing is you see like Rebel cruisers just on the run as they slowly get picked off one by one, until finally at the end when they turn one of their own ships into, after everybody's evacuated, one of the Grand Admirals turns her ship around and just goes right ahead and turns her ship into a torpedo. It's so sick. But anyway, I don't want to give too much away. The big thing I want to say, though, is I really kind of like the ad campaign because they made it look like it was going to be mostly about Rey being tempted by the dark side. But she doesn't, I mean, like maybe one or two scenes, but she doesn't really get that tempted by the dark side. And when she does, she just straight up shoots it down. But that's the big thing. You also learn a lot about the past history between Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker, pretty much why things happen, like why Kylo Ren left Luke Skywalker, why Ben Solo left and became Kylo Ren, and what he did to the Jedi Order. And it's actually kind of a really, really heavy scene. Like, honestly, like the two best performances in this movie were Mark Hamill and the sadly, unfortunately, late, great Carrie Fisher. Both of them just having an absolute blast playing these roles for what Could possibly be for the last time ever for some of them. Definitely for Carrie Fisher, unfortunately, but she didn't know. And it's just... I'm not going to lie to you, as a diehard Star Wars fan, I got a little choked up when I saw Carrie Fisher on screen with Mark Hamill towards the end of the movie. It just made me sad knowing that I'm never going to get to see those two on screen together again. I don't really know if there's too much I can go into, but because, like I said, I'm flying by myself right now. So, unfortunately, this one's going to be a really short podcast. Normally, I try to get at least like a half hour in, but I don't even know if I'm going to be able to stretch this out to 10 minutes because it's tough for me to talk about this by myself. But I figured I'd just go out there and give you guys a review of this movie. The action sequences in this film are some of the best. In fact, there's an opening fight scene in a starship with Poe Dameron as he's flying around blowing up a dreadnought's guns, and like you just really see like the weight. But you, in that same scene, you also see just like how pressed for resources the Resistance is, and how they really just can't afford to take stupid chances. BB-8, I want to say, stole every scene he was in. He was hilarious. But I'm going to go see it again. I highly recommend all of you see it. That's all I really got to say about it. You know, it's I really can't go into it without talking too much spoilers. And I know before, like I've never had a problem going to spoilers. But this is Star Wars. So just all I'm going to say about this is don't go into this movie with any expectations of what you really expect to happen, because this movie does take a lot of risks. You don't really learn too much about Lord Snoke and his past. You learn about Rey's parents, and it's, for me personally, that reveal, the reveal of it was very satisfying to me, because you learn that her parents just aren't who you expected them, who everybody expected them to be, and I actually really like that they just decided, you know what, no, we're not going to go with all these fan theories, we're going to poo-poo everything. Yeah, guys, that's just going to do it for me, because there's somebody outside mowing his lawn, and it's just going to be picking up too much feedback. So, bottom line is, guys, movie's definitely worth seeing. I highly recommend it. Right now, I'm going to be giving this... I don't know if to give it... I'm going to go with 8.5 out of 10. It's definitely a good movie. I highly recommend it. Go see it, guys. Thanks for listening. This has been the Daily Chat Podcast, and as always, you can find me on Twitter at KyleDaily1987, same handle for my Instagram, and also find us on the Daily Chat Podcast on Twitter. All right, everybody, thanks very much for listening. Bye.
Well, that was fun. Who's for Chinese?